Check two. Check one.
Program in J School came from Nigeria and Ghana. One I'm still in touch with.
That's what my heritage. I did
the genealogy.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Nigeria is where mine is. So
Yeah. Check it quicker.
It won't go back. It'll go forward. There we go. But yeah, if you can get that.
Yeah, I got information. I'll send you what we got so far. Looking at 2.5 weeks between the flight there.
Okay.
Yeah, my daughter, she's an actually so she collected a bunch of stuff. She needed each one is very high. Everything that's going on. So yeah, I got some information.
Okay.
Everything else about you?
Everything else is good, bro.
What's the ride this crazy something?
You and me both. Don't worry. I got my whole program.
So what you gonna do now that you're back to normal, so to speak? I said, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be doing this, but I like
I
to go.
got 10 years.
10 years left?
10 years. I'll be 53 this year. That's about 6 years.
I got another 3. I'm 64 now.
Okay.
I'm doing. Well, trying. That the little health scare didn't help them, but God took care of me. Well, every day.
sir. Good. You want to sit down there? You want to sit closer to Hey. At 1:45, I apologize for those who thought it was 1:30. My name is Alan Armstrong. I'm the current Chief of Staff, and we're about to go into our next session, elevating student success. Actually, one of the most important sessions that we will have during the convention. This is how the school operates and the why behind many of the initiatives that they do. I have a quick question for you guys. Just by a show of hands, is Florida A&M state funded or state sponsored? Those who think we're state funded, raise your hand. State funded. Okay, okay. Those who think we're state sponsored, raise your hand. Both are kind of, it's a trick question. We are state sponsored, but we need that state funding in order to operate our school, right? But we are state sponsored. You will hear today from this esteemed panel that I'll introduce in a minute. They're going to talk about our performance-based funding, because all the funding for our university is tied to performance metrics. For those of us who, when I was there, we were just state funded, which meant we were guaranteed a certain amount of money no matter what the graduation rates were, no matter what the degree programs were. Everything we do contributed is measured, scored, and that score is how we get funding. By the way, quick news flash update, including DSOs. So they're going to start evaluating DSO performance, and that's going to be part of the university metric in terms of their sponsorship and their funding as well. So what we do will continue to matter at a deep level, okay? So I don't want to steal the thunder from the panel, but I'm going to introduce the panel that we have here today. We have Dr. Allison Watson, our provost. We have Mr. Anthony Neal, VP of Advancement, AKA the Money Man. We have Dr. William Hudson, Vice President of Student Affairs, and Junior. He told me to make sure I say Junior, so let me go again. Dr. William Hudson, Jr., VP of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. Enrollment Management, they just called that registration when I went to school, but they didn't upgraded it. Dr. Lewis Johnson, Associate Provost of Strategic Initiatives. Dr. Jennifer Collins, Associate Provost, Student Success. Dr. Juan Alexander, Associate VP of Enrollment Management. And Mr. Jeffrey Price II, Director of Undergraduate Admissions. Pierce. See, I'm all messing up. All right. So without further ado, I would bring up Dr. Watson. Thank you.
Thank you. So, afternoon, everyone. It is always a delight to be in a house full of Rattlers who love and cherish our university, the College of Love and Charity. We are going to invite you today to our class. So class will be in session. Many of the things that you will hear, you've heard before, but this time we want you to listen with a heartfelt and watchful ear. Use the spirit of discernment if you have it, and make sure that you carry this message on to your local chapters and as a national mandate. Before we begin and I invite our panelists to come forward, I want to acknowledge many of our leaders that are on campus. First, I want to, and you all probably have acknowledged her already, the chair of our Board of Trustees, Ms. Kristen Harper. Ms. Kristen, stand for what's right, Harper. And I'd be remiss if I did not recognize her help leader, Mr. Andre Harper. So thank you. And then it's very fitting that we started the session with the boots on the ground, because while that is a trend that we are all doing and popping our flags, we also know that it takes boots on the ground leaders to get this work done. And so I want to acknowledge my fellow VPs from the senior leadership team. If you all will stand, I see our CFO, VP Rebecca Brown. I see our VP of Athletics, VP Angela Suggs. I have my extra thick glasses on today. If I missed anyone, I see our VP of Alumni Affairs, Miss Brandy Tatum, Dr. Brandy Tatum Frederick. So am I missing anyone? If so, please stand. I also see our deans. VP Alonda Thomas, Dr. Alonda Thomas just walked in the room for communications. I see our Dean of the College of Agriculture and Food Science, the college that puts the A in Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. And as we all know, these titles, sometimes make you feel like it's a level of importance, but it's not. It's a title that we are called to serve to do the job that we know that we have to do. So today, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our panelists. I work closely alongside Vice President Hudson. I missed Valencia Matthews. I see her right there. Dean of the College of Social Sciences, Arts, and Humanities. Just so happened, Nick, you moved your head. Dean Mary Simmons with the incognito hat on of the School of Allied Health Sciences. Is there anyone else? Please stand up so that I don't do not miss. Okay, thank you. I see Mr. The Olympian, our basketball coach, Coach Pressure. If you would please stand up for women's basketball. What we know is that we are among family. I could shout out Mr. Mingo and his wife because they are longtime family members. I could shout out Mr. Tommy Mitchell because he is a longtime advocate, former president of the NAA. I could shout out, I think I saw Curtis Richardson. But what I want to say at the end of the day is that we are in this room, a group of individuals that are committed to do the work to continue to be the #1 public HBCU in the nation. So without further ado, I have the clicker right here. I'm going to show you quickly how we're going to do this. Dr. Hudson and I work alongside each other because we have to move the needle for student success. And we're going to tell you how intricately the state funding is articulated by how much we move that needle. So that means that everybody that comes into our university, whether they are the first time in college freshman, a transfer student from one of the state colleges or outside of the state, a graduate student, we are held accountable for their production, their productivity, and how much they earn in their first year. And so we're going to break that all the way down for you. I am joined by phenomenal people that some Dr. Hudson will talk to you more about. To my left is Dr. Juan Alexander, who you'll meet. Of course, you know Dr. Neal, Mr. Jeffrey Pierce, and on my team, the two dynamite, y'all are dynamite too, but they're on my team. Dr. Jennifer Bowers-Collins and Dr. Lewis Johnson, who really are the brain trust in the academic affairs unit because they help us shape our futures based on the students that come in. And so today you're going to hear quite a bit, and we've broken it down by slides for you. We can share this presentation with you afterwards. Where should I click? There you go. Here is our agenda for today, and we're going to leave time for you to ask us questions. And we're also sharing the stage with Vice President Neal. So we're going to give you an overview, classes in session of performance-based funding metrics, go over the FAMU student profile, speak to you about student success initiatives that we're doing on campus, talk about FAMU admissions, and next steps is the charge. What does that mean for you? How can you go back to your alumni chapters and really help us move the needle forward? So we look forward to an engaging conversation with you today. It's always a pleasure to be before you. I'll turn it over now to my colleague, Dr. Hudson. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So we're gonna proceed with the 5 Bs. Be brief, build, be brief. We want to get through this session. As an alumni and having attended sessions before, I know this can be a long session, and I know y'all so excited to get to the budget portion of your convention as well. So, so I do want to say this. Not only do we work closely together, we work closely with the alumni leadership, okay? We have a deal. Everything goes through the alumni leadership to get out to the chapters. Why do we do that? Because we want to make sure all information is shared and shared with the individuals that we have trained to go out and recruit for the institution. It's just like church. Everybody can't be in the pulpit. Everybody can't speak to this generation of students. Everybody has to be trained. And they're going to talk about when the trainings are upcoming and things of that nature. And they're all online, so there are no excuses. And we track who participate as well. All right? So I don't want nobody calling me, talking about, Dr. Hudson, I need this, I need that. Because I'm going to say, have you talked to your second VP or the president or the NAA president? All right? So I'm going to be very brief. We're going to refresh those of you that already know about the PBF metrics and everything. We want to refresh you because it has to stay on your mind. All right. What is performance-based funding? Everybody can read. I'm going to leave it up for a second. I'm in the classroom right now. I do teach in the greatest college on campus, the School of Allied Health Sciences. Y'all don't have to clap. That don't bother me. But performance-based funding is where state appropriations occur. It incentivizes institutions to prioritize student success. Everyone knows what student success is, right? It's not just one thing. It's retention, it's progression, it's graduation, it's employment, it's research dollars, it's transfer students, it's everything at the institution. What are the other institutions? We have 10 common metrics plus one. Ours happen to be our transfer services. We're going to talk about that later on and what schools we have incorporated into that. We get a proportion of our annual budget into a standard pot. So what they do is take money from us, from our budget in the beginning of the fiscal year, July 1, and they hold it. And we're able to receive those funds back if we meet those standards. And we're able to get funds into a pot that we're able to receive from the state as well. Points are awarded based on a year over year. Now, they do it based on the previous year. So it won't be 24-25 for this year. It'll be 23-24. So that's why it's important that you understand the difference. It is not the current year. It is the previous year. So it's based upon those students that came in 4 years prior to for the graduation rate. All right? And then failure to meet certain point thresholds can mean the loss of those operating funds. And as you know, we cannot afford to lose any operating funds. We start off at a deficit compared to other institutions in the state. And if you've been tracking it, and I know many of you have, you've seen what those other institutions have received over the past 15 years, as long as I've been here. And in some cases, they are guaranteed funding every year, whereas some institutions like us, we are not. And now I'm going to bring up Dr. Johnson.
Back. How'd he go? Yeah, 2 more. Thank you. All right, I apologize. I'm the physics professor, so they give me the most technical, geeky part of the presentation. So everybody try to stay awake. Like Dr. Hudson was saying, performance-based funding metric, our great state of Florida likes to brag about how it's held tuition to the lowest points in many years. We haven't had a tuition increase in over 10 years. And everybody realizes that, guess what? When you go to the grocery store, your costs are going up. But Florida likes to say that we have held tuition low, and that's how schools get its revenue from tuition increases. So the one way that we get extra money is performance-based funding, and it's based on outcomes. Now, the key fact is what Dr. Hudson said, 10 common metrics. I'm going to say that again, 10 common metrics. That means we are judged on the same scale as the other schools in our conference. Just like Florida A&M is a member of the SWAC, and the players that we get to compete in the SWAC are of the same caliber as the other institutions in the SWAC. Well, our academic conference is composed of University of Florida, a top 6 in the national polls, Florida State, which is a top 25 institution, FIU, or South Florida, which is a top 49 institution. So do you see where I'm going? With these common metrics, we are competing on the same scale as Florida State, University of Florida, University of South Florida. That is our academic conference. Next slide. So, how's Florida A&M doing? Well, we're doing good this year. It's not official yet, but I can tell you that how we're going to do. And that number this year is going to be our highest total ever of 83 points. And since I'm the numbers guy, I can probably tell you with a high degree of certainty that next year is probably going to be around the same thing. Okay? So, those 11 metrics are mainly all to do with student success. The first 2 metrics are employment outcomes, net tuition and fees. That's where everybody in the state of Florida is low. 4-year graduation rate. Academic progress rate. That's fall-to-fall retention with a GPA of 2.0. Number 6 and 8 are percents of students that graduate in programs of strategic emphasis. That means mainly STEM programs, but other programs that are important to the state, like nursing, supply chain management, and those types of programs. 3-year graduation rate from Florida Community College System, 6-year Pell student graduation rate. And the last metric is a metric that Florida A&M got to choose, wink, wink, all by ourselves with no influence from anybody, wink, wink. And that is the number of bachelor's degrees awarded to transfers with AAs from FCS schools. Now, as Dr. Hudson said, we get points by either being on the excellence scale or by improvement for year to year. So you can just go down and see the numbers, and you can see the comparison from the previous year. And again, we got our highest point total ever at 83. Next slide. You can see a graph, and our point total is at 83. Underneath, you can see how much money that we get from the state for producing and doing well in the PBF metric. Prior to 2019, the state had a rule. If you were in the bottom 3 universities, even though you were making progress, you got no money. Again, let that sink in. You could be making progress, but because you were in the bottom 3, you got no money. And you need money to, guess what, make progress. So they changed the rule in 2019, and every year since then, Florida A&M has gotten money. Last year, we got around $15.4 million, and unless something drastic happens, we should be getting about the same amount of money next month when they announce the official results. Next slide. Now, this is the kicker. Like Dr. Hudson said, we get 2 types of points. We get points for improvement, and we get points for being excellent. This year, we're getting 54 points for being excellent, and we're getting 29 points with improvement. When you have improvement, how hard is it for you to keep improving year over year at the same rate? It becomes incredibly difficult. So that 29 points, even though we're proud to have it, because that 29 plus the 54 equals 83, we need to be in a position where all of our points are coming from excellence. That's our ground state. Sorry, physics term. That's where we are, the baseline. Thank you. Next slide. So, again, we hear a lot about Florida. How is Florida A&M doing outside the great state of Florida? Next slide. Well, the line in orange is other public HBCUs. That is the retention rate. So you can see they're around 70%. The line in magenta, that's four-year universities with master's degrees. And that line is in around 84%-ish. And the top line in blue, that is Florida universities. And again, the line is high because guess what? Our state has been pushing us to be better and to drive these outcomes. So next slide, how is FAMU doing? Well, as you can see, we're killing it. As I keep telling my boss and everybody else. Outside of the state of Florida, when Dr. Collins and I go give talks, we speak to packed houses because people are coming up to us going, what the blank are y'all doing? And how can you help us? Other HBCUs are down below 70%. We're all the way up at 90% retention rate. And it's great to get the applause from the audience because when we go back to the state of Florida, they're going, why isn't your retention rates better? Okay, next slide. This is the graduation rate. We put this slide together because there were some questions when people were saying, well, back in the days with Dr. Humphreys and so forth, our four-year graduation rate was better than it was. And this slide, we want to clear up some misconceptions. This is data going all the way back to 1985, and there was a gap where we couldn't find the data. But what we see is Florida A&M historically has had a four-year graduation rate of around mid to low teens. And there's nothing bad about it because guess what? Whenever I walk outside of the great state of Florida and I say graduation rates to somebody, they immediately think about 6 years because the national standard for measuring graduation rate is 6 years. Students come to school with a whole wide variety of problems and it takes them time to get out. So it's very rare to find somebody that graduated within 4 years. So that's why the national standard for talking about graduation rates is 6 years. And as you can see, our 6-year graduation rate in green has been in the mid-40s. And that's higher than the national standard. We were exceeding the national standard. But again, that doesn't matter in the great state of Florida. So we have to be intentional. And you can see the amazing work that we've done with our graduation rate. Our 4-year rates have gone from the low teens to this year they're going to hit 40. Until next year, I'm cracking the whips. Hey, Dean Matthews, Dean Simmons, thank y'all for filling out your forms. We're pushing to get every student out because we got to, again, improve each year. To get to 41 was an amazing accomplishment. Guess what? Next year, we have to be higher than 41. And our 6-year graduation rate, we almost hit 60%. And we took I can tell you why. But we're back up in the trend is going back up in the opposite direction. Next. Same thing for our academic progress rate. We used to be around 60s to mid-70s. Through the intentionality, through the great work of Dr. Collins and her team, We're now at 86 last year, and hopefully we're on track to hit 88 this year. Most other mid-sized public universities that are a lot higher ranked academically in the U.S. News and World Report would love to have these numbers that we're turning over. Okay? Next slide. So, what are the challenges ahead? Next slide. All right, I don't want to get too technical, but this slide is looking at the relative change in GPAs of our students over the years, and it's comparing us against our peer institution. So the thing to look at is the slope of the line. And you can see the slope of the line is we have gone up a big slope. That means our GPAs of the incoming students have been increasing. There's only one other school in the state system that's had a slope like ours, and that's FIU. FIU has been very intentional about changing its student profile, and we have been intentional about increasing our student profile. But one thing that you'll notice is the lines are starting to flatten out, even us. Again, year over year improvement at that high level becomes more and more difficult. Next slide. Again, let's look at that academic league that we have to compete in. This is looking at all the other universities in the SUS. Their four-year graduation rates, the high school GPAs, the ACT scores, and then there's a metric that I created, the percent of students that are ready for college math. That's looking at the ACT scores above a 24. Because if you have above a 24, you are ready to go to school based on the benchmarks, and you should be able to take a math above college algebra and score a B or better. Look at UF, 76.9 graduation rate in 4 years. High school GPA 4.5, ACT 75% math 31. 92% of their students that they admit are college math ready. 92%. And you can look at the numbers, they go down until we get to Florida A&M. Our four-year graduation rate, when we had comparison data last year, was 35%. Average GPA was 3.5. Our ACT score was 23. And 19% of our students were college ready. Now, what you can't see in this chart is we are overperforming where we should be. Our numbers are equal to that of North Florida, FAU, and Gulf Coast. We're overperforming where we should be because that's the FAMU way. And at the bottom, I put in Howard, Spelman, and A&T. Guess what? If we had the same students that Howard has, we would be up there with FSU because we know how to overperform. That's what we do at Florida A&M. So the key thing is, as we have been increasing the GPAs, the standardized test scores have been flat. The standardized test scores have been flat. We need to work on getting those standardized test scores up. And I know what some people are thinking. Well, my son, a daughter, a cousin, niece, they're not good test takers. I'm a professor of physics. If you want to be an engineer, you have to go through physics. The questions that I ask, the ones on the ACT and SAT are easier than the ones I ask. So if they can't do the ones on the ACT or SAT, they're not going to be able to get through my class. Just like we work with our students when they have athletic issues, we get them to hitting coaches, batting coaches, throwing coaches. Guess what? Get the people in your lives to those standardized test score coaches. These numbers need to go up because if they want to be an engineer, the ACT says that the benchmark to be the level in which you're ready for Calculus 1 is a score of 28. I can work for you if you have a score of 26. But at a 23, you're coming in with a severe deficit. That Florida A&M knows how to work with, but we're not going to be able to graduate that person in 4 years. Next slide. We've worked very hard to improve the freshman performance of the incoming students. Back in fall 2010, 80% of the students that came in had a GPA of less than greater than 2.0. Again, we've worked very hard to get that number up, and the latest number is 93.8% of the students have a freshman GPA above a 2.0 at the end of their fall semester. And guess what? As great that number is, we got to push it higher. Next slide. Talking about four-year graduates. This is looking at data from the 2014 all the way to the 2018 cohort. Instead of putting all the majors down, I just developed the majors by what I call math level. Math level 1 are 1 + 1 = 2. That's the amount of math you need to know for those majors. Math level 2 is, can you solve for x? Math level 3 is, can you do the derivative of x? And math level 4 is, can you construct a computer algorithm to construct a mathematical equation to create an x? Calculus, okay? You can see where most of the students are, where the ends are. But you also see the ACT scores of those students who graduated 4 years. Math level 4, the engineers, the physics, the chemistries, those majors. And the ACT score of those students are 26. And again, the FAMU way is we overperform because the ACT says I should at least have a 28, but we can get you in 4 years with a 26. But you got to get us to 26s, okay? Next slide. Dual enrollment is extremely important. I don't want to get technical, but guess what? The grades in green show the students with dual enrollment credit versus the students not. And in every single high school GPA range, when you have dual enrollment credit, you do better your first year. So, getting students to take dual enrollment credit in high school is a must. Is that it for me? Next slide. Oh. These are just more slides. As the high school GPA increases, your chances of four-year graduation rate go up. As your ACT score goes up, your four-year graduation goes up. We're with Florida A&M again to compete with that conference champion, FSU and UF. I need to have GPAs above a 4.0 and ACT scores above a 28. That gets me at around 60% graduation rate, which in our state puts us in the regime in which we are excellent and we don't have to depend on improvement year over year over year. Next slide. So this is my last, and I don't want to get too technical. A few years ago, the president said he wants our score to be 85. 85 not due to improvement points, but 85 due to excellence points. And this is one of many pathways to get there. To get there, though, we need to get the four-year graduation rate up to around 53. And that's a big climb for us because next year, hopefully we got around 43, but we got 10 percentage points to go. We also need to get the academic progress rate to around 90. The two metrics 6 and 8, even though we're doing good in those metrics, what happens when we do good at something in the great state of Florida? They do the Lucy, and they move the football. So metrics 6 and 8 are changing. The programs of strategic emphasis used to have 800 majors on there. That was last year. This year, they truly decimated. If you look at the word decimate, it's cut by 10, factor of 10. There are about 150 programs on the list now. So Florida A&M will drop from 53% on that metric to, guess what, around 24% on that metric. And the programs that they left on the list are programs that people that look like me are traditionally not going into. Engineering, supply chain management, healthcare, informatics. Those are the programs that are on the list. Those are the programs that we need more African Americans to major in. Those are the programs that have the higher mathematical threshold that is important that those students in elementary school, junior high school, and high school get the required mathematical understanding so that they can come to the highest of Seven Hills in Tallahassee and exceed in the programs that the great state of Florida wants that are going to be high-paying disciplines. So I hope I wasn't too technical. I hope everybody's awake, and I want to turn it over to my Colin. Dr. Collins.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So, as Lewis said, next slide for us. We have spent the last few years really focusing on the first year experience for students. So, next slide, please. So, one of the early initiatives that we implemented back in 2020 was to pay attention to the students who come in summer. When we look at our summer admission standards, they're a little lower than our fall admission standards. So our plan was then to work with those students, give them a cohort experience, make sure that they stay focused in those 6 weeks that we have them, and that they're prepared to go into their fall semester. And what we typically see is that those students perform well in the summer. Last year's cohort, they finished summer classes with a 3.2 GPA. What we also saw this year was that their fall GPA dropped. And so what we believe is going on is they get into the fall semester, they have a little more freedom, a little more social activity, and their GPAs drop. And so what we want to do going into this summer is that the students will now be in a 3-semester program. It will not be just summer. They will have study hall in the fall semester. They will have academic coaching in the fall semester. They will meet with their peer mentors in the fall semester. All of these things will be required. If they finish summer semester below a 3.0 GPA, they will not be allowed to enroll full-time for fall semester. They'll be able to take 11 credit hours. And all of this is to incentivize them to focus on their reason for coming to the institution. Yes, we want them to have a good time, but we also want them to stay focused on graduating in 4 years. Next slide, please. Yes, the summer is for in-state only students. So learning communities. We have 13 learning communities, and what we see with these students is they are outperforming the rest of the cohort. These students work with a liaison. They're selected by the schools and colleges. We have one for our honors program. And their GPA, this CUME GPA for this last cohort is 3.40 compared to the cohort GPA of about 3.25. And so what that shows us is that community really helps our first year students. And so we're looking at ways we can expand that learning community experience for the students. They live together, some of them take classes together, they have study halls together, and so it really makes a difference in how those students perform first year. Next slide, please. So academic excellence, Lewis talked about the fact that 93.8% of our students came back for spring semester with the GPA above a 2.0. So what happens with with the students who fall below a 2.0 is that they're put into what we call academic excellence program. In this program, they take a special study skills course. They work with academic coaches. They have a more intrusive approach in terms of the peer mentors and the instructors. We also implemented a GPA check-in for these students, and what we've seen is that the students who sign up for the course and participate, we were able to recover about 75% of those students to above a 2.0 GPA at the end of spring semester. We had one student who went from a 1.0 GPA in the fall to a 4.0 GPA in the spring. So we know that working with the students, helping them kind of get back together after that fall semester really makes a difference. And so we're making sure that we put those types of things in place for our first year students. Next slide, please. This semester, we are implementing what we're calling first year success coaches. These individuals will work with our first year students in lieu of a traditional academic advisor. They will work with the students, meet with them on a more frequent basis. They will go into the SLS courses. They will also have monthly workshops with the students. We'll make sure that the students who participate with the success coaches understand their curriculum maps. And if there are students who need to change majors, we're going to do it within that first year. Because we know that the more times a student changes their major, the less likely they are to graduate in 4 years. And so the success coaches are going to work with them to make sure that they're in the right major. One of the examples we were talking about earlier is a student who wants to do OBGYN, biology pre-med. When we look at that student's test scores, they're testing into developmental math. So what that means is if we allow the student to come in biology pre-med, they're going to have to make at least 4 steps. So they will have to make at least 4 steps to get to the first required math course, which is calculus. That puts them at least a year behind, and that's with them passing every course and taking extra credit hours. So what we don't call it making them switch their major, but we're really helping them develop parallel pathways, because you may have a desire to help. That may be their reason for choosing that major. But at the end of the day, there's so many careers you can choose to help when you graduate. It doesn't necessarily have to be that pathway. And there are other pathways also to medical school. And so we try to work with the students to identify those areas as well. And when we think about some of the other things that our success coaches are going to do is that slump that we typically see in the fall semester with GPAs, our expectation is that that GPA will not drop for our summer students. Next slide, please. And so in wrapping up the discussion around the student success initiatives we've implemented, we hear a lot about academic advising. And one of the things that we are working on is moving to a holistic approach to advising. When you look at what's going on around the country as it relates to academic advising, we can purchase a platform that will help students register for classes. So academic advising has to go beyond just helping a student choose their classes, because we have software that will do that. What we need our advisors to do is really understand who their students are, manage their caseload based on the prediction of students' ability to persist in their majors, help students navigate when they need to change majors, being proactive in identifying when students need support, not waiting until it's time for a student to drop the class, but identifying early on, are there some things we can do to support them? And so our advisors this summer are going through a weekly mandatory training session, all designed to help them engage in holistic advising rather than just being registering the students for their classes. Next slide, please. And so these are some of the other items that we've been talking about that will also address student success outcomes. Revisiting summer admissions pathways, or admissions pathways altogether. Looking at how we bring the students in. Are there some students who are admitted for fall who are interested in STEM, but they aren't quite there in terms of their test scores? Can we bring them in the summer, work with them on their math skills, prepare them to then go into the STEM disciplines for the fall semester? We're also looking at redirecting students. So students who don't meet test score requirements for summer, those students, we're recommending that they join the Ignite program, which allows them to go to a state college and then transfer back into the institution. They get some benefits from doing that, and so we're really trying to get students to buy into those types of programs, because ultimately our goal is for them to be successful. So we don't want to bring them in based on who they know or their connections, and they don't have the requirements, because what the data shows us is that those students may not be successful. And what we want is for our students to be successful. All right, so thank you all so much. I'll turn it over to my colleague.
Good afternoon. Next slide. So I won't read the slide to you. I'll just point out a few trends. But this slide is basically talking about our first time in college student applications in terms of where we are right now, and it provides comparison information. And as you can see, where we are right now, we're a little over 13% in our applications from last year. That number also includes the FAA, which is our students who are applying that already have associate's degrees. So we have about 643 of those students who have applied for this upcoming fall that already have associate degrees, 2-year degrees coming from the community college, and obviously they've done some dual enrollment. We continue to see strong momentum in our application pipeline. Florida leads as our top state for both our first time in college and FAA students or applicants, followed by Georgia and Texas. Notably, we've expanded our reach to include states such as Illinois and New York, showing that our national brand is gaining traction. This broader geographic diversity not only supports enrollment growth, but it also strengthens our academic community with a wider range of student experiences and perspectives. Next slide. So what we did was provided a slide that basically shows our top feeder states in which our applicants are coming from. Looking ahead at our 25-26 cycle, we've already seen similar trends with Florida, Georgia, and Texas continuing to lead, but there's also a notable rise in applications from Michigan, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. This reflects our targeted outreach efforts and partnerships in our key regions. Next, I'll bring to the podium our Director of Admissions, who will talk a little bit about strategy.
All right, before we do that, next slide, yes. So, and I wanted to officially introduce our AVP for Enrollment Management. I know we're FAMUly, so I like to give some background on individuals that we bring into the institution. So Dr. Juan Alexander comes to us from Norfolk State University by way of New York. He is a New Yorker, so he's from, I told you we were gonna have some New York people here. And also, Mr. Pierce comes to us from Jacksonville, Florida, from Duval County, by way of South Carolina as well. And so we welcome them to the FAMUly with their expertise. What I wanted to say here, thank you. So one of the things that I deeply regret that I didn't do when I was at FAMU was study abroad. I had many cohorts within my group that came in 1990 that did do it. I was afraid at that time to go too far away from home. But now we have so many students. We have approximately 21 students that are in Spain right now doing study abroad and getting college credit. And we also have our SGA president is right now in Rome doing her study abroad before she comes back for her senior year. So we've expanded more than just the confines of the United States. We are a global university, and we're proud of that as well, and welcome the opportunities, and with some of your company's assistance as well, other opportunities for our students to do great things in the United States, but also abroad. So now I'll bring up Mr. Pierce to talk about admissions and some of our other items. I do want to mention dual enrollment. I get a lot of calls from alumni, parents that say little Jimmy is a great piano player in the church. And if he just had one opportunity to come to FAMU, he would make us proud. Now, myself, I wouldn't have made it in FAMU right now because I had like a 14 on the ACT myself. And it's a different time. As you always know, and as our grandparents and great-grandparents told us, if you don't know the game, you got to learn how to play the game. And so dual enrollment is the easiest process for students to get admitted to FAMU. Why is that? A new state law that was initiated last year allows students that have AA degrees with their high school diploma. We do not have to look at test scores. Do I need to repeat that? If a student graduates with their high school diploma and AA degree in the state of Florida and outside the state of Florida, we do not have to look at their test scores. We can automatically admit them. All right? How does that help us? If they come in with 60 credit hours as a freshman, first time in college student, they only have 2 years if they follow the path to graduate, which helps our graduation rate. As I said, if you don't know how to play the game, you learn how to play the game. So I don't want to stand up here too long. Anybody want to talk with me about that afterwards? Y'all know how to reach me. Mr. Pierce.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. First, I'd like to say I'm honored to be here, honored to be a part of the FAMU community, and excited to partner with you all as well as my colleagues. So next slide. So as you all may know, that we have institutions in the state of Florida that we partner with. These are our Florida community college schools. And this is a segue to set up for one of our transfer programs, which is called the Ignite program. And so as you see here on the slide, you have about 18 different institutions that we partner with. That really is about 22, but we've got 18 here on the slide. And if you go into the next slide, we'll talk more specifically about the Ignite transfer program. And so the Ignite transfer program, as Dr. Collins mentioned, a freshman that may not meet our traditional admission standards will redirect them to enroll at one of our partner institutions. And by enrolling into our partner institution, they're part of the Ignite program. And the goal there is for the students to complete 2 years, get their associate's degree, and seamlessly transfer back to Florida A&M University. We are going through a rebranding of the Ignite program to really talk more about what are some additional benefits that transfer students have, right? So right now with our Ignite program, they get access to football game tickets, they get access to one of our recreational centers on campus, but we're going through a rebranding to really talk more about what are some additional benefits that transfer students may like when they transfer in, right? Priority advising, priority registration, those types of things. So on our next slide, you will see where we enroll the top institutions that we partner with. So Tallahassee State College, Broward, Valencia, FSCJ, Miami-Dade, as well as Palm Beach State. And so with our transfer strategy, we're going to be focusing more specifically on these particular institutions. In the previous slide, you saw that we have partnerships with about 18, right? And so, I'm sorry, I didn't want you to go back, but it's okay. But we talked about the 18 different partners. And so what we're trying to do is be more strategic and focused on the institutions where we have better relationships with. And we've already started meeting with representatives from these institutions to really figure out how we can strengthen and grow that pipeline for students who transfer from those particular institutions. So on our next slide, you'll see the top institutions where we enroll students from four-year institutions. I won't call that first school's name, but you all can see that, right? I'm learning about being a part of the FAMU community already, right?
Being trained well. Being trained well.
But again, these are institutions where we've seen students transfer into the institution from a four-year institution. So on our next slide, we've got scholarship information. Dr. Hudson, did you want to talk about the scholarship piece before I continue?
Thank you. I'm not going to tell y'all what Provost Watson said, but what she said was, beat them in everything but baseball. I'm going to tell it. So I often get questions about scholarship because it is expensive for out-of-state students to come to FAMU. And so we talk about Save Our Students, which is a great fund that helps students maintain. But we do have scholarship criteria that meets the same criteria as Bright Futures in the state of Florida, because that decreases the amount of money that we have to spend if the students meet the Bright Futures criteria, because it pays for their tuition. And it gives us more resources for the out-of-state students. So you see how that works in conjunction together. And so we do not utilize the ALEX test for scholarships anymore. If the students meet these scores, they are eligible for the scholarship. Now, they must maintain the scholarship, but this is based upon the criteria that we need, and we work with Dr. Johnson, because I'm going to say this again, and I say it all the time. A great man, great poet once said, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Who can tell me who said that? I'm going to date that. Jay-Z said that. I'm going to tell y'all that. Jay-Z said that. So as you seek out those students, those scholars, remember our priority deadline is November 1st to be admitted. The application opens April 1st, right? He's going to give you some dates in a minute. August, I'm sorry. One question that I got through text message, which was a great question, is do we think students should do AP, IB, or dual enrollment? Absolutely right, dual enrollment. Because the stress that AP and IB puts on students and the stressors that they have to deal with in everyday life, they're not built like us anymore. They're not built like us, all right? But we still have to hold them accountable. So dual enrollment, they can get a C in a course and still get that credit. Plus, dual enrollment credits automatically transfer to college, and they don't have to pay for those first 2 years of classes. So it's cheaper, all right? And so really pushing them. And also one thing to make sure, if you are talking with students and they're in dual enrollment, please, please, please make sure they take dual enrollment math and science. A lot of schools will push them away from taking math and science. That's not good. A lot of students will not take math their senior year. And if you're like me, I can't remember what I did yesterday, much less a whole year ago. And students are not going to remember that material, so we have to make sure that that's done. I'm going to turn it back over because we're going to bring up VP Neal in a minute so we can get this moving. We've got about 20 minutes left.
All right, thank you for that. Next slide, please. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about some of our admission strategy. And so the first bullet point that you see is that our admission strategy is going to be aligned with the performance-based funding metrics. You all have heard the data and the information that have been shared by my colleagues, but we really want to make sure that our strategy is aligned to that, particularly with our programs of strategic emphasis. Dr. Hudson talked about students who graduate high school with an associate's degree, how that helps us, those dual enrollment students, as well as the math scores. And so you may be wondering, how are we going to do that, right? And so a lot of that just starts with really expanding our digital marketing, as well as our communication with students, right? So this strategy is not just a strategy for just recruiting high school seniors, right? We have to be intentional about speaking with students earlier in their high school years, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th and 12th grade. And so we have some external partners that we're going to be working with who's going to help us draft some communication to figure out what that conversation or what that communication looks like with those students earlier in those years. We also utilize student search. Student search is when we partner with organizations such as College Board and ACT, where we can license the names of students who have particular scores on these standardized tests, right? So students are taking the pre-ACT, PSAT, and so we can license those names based off of the scores that the students have earlier in their 9th and 10th grade year, and really see with where they are with those scores in those years, how that leads up to what we're looking for by the time they become seniors. So we have to be intentional about communicating with those students earlier in their high school years. I talked a little bit about robust communication, right? Leveraging our external partners. That's not just speaking to the students, but that's also speaking to their parents, right? That's also speaking to transfer students as well. And so then, of course, leveraging you all, right? That's the reason that we're here, to share these updates, things that are happening on our campus, and leveraging you all, particularly through the alumni training program, which we're taking a look at on campus. We're working on how to continue that, and we'll have some information out to you shortly about, what that program is going to look like and how we can continue to partner with one another. There was one additional thing that slipped in my mind that I wanted to touch base on, related to our admission strategy. It was a good one. Oh, here it is. We're taking a look at what our processes are in the admissions office, right? Because all of the data that we just shared here today means that we have to go after a different type of student. And so if we're going after a different type of student, that puts us in a different category in terms of who our competitors, right? And so our competitors are now institutions that are across the street from Florida A&M, that are down the street in Gainesville, right? So we're entering into a different level of competition. And so when we think about our processes, what are the processes for those students when they're engaged with those institutions versus when they engage with us, right? And so those are some things that we're looking at, and that's not a specific strategy, but it's important in terms of the types of students that we're looking to go after. Particularly here with events. Go back one slide real quick. So events, so fall events, right? You see Destination FAMU. This is an invitation-driven program for prospects, right? So like when we go to different cities throughout the state of Florida, how do we invite prospects to come and learn more about FAMU? Preview days. Historically, from what I've learned, preview days are typically in the spring. But from an admissions standpoint, spring is the season where we have what we call yield events. So we admit our students in the fall, we have preview day, we introduce them to the institution, But then in the spring, we have those yield events, such as admitted student days, right? And we're looking to have admitted student days for all students, but then also admitted student days that are focused specifically on those programs of strategic emphasis, because all of this ties back to the performance-based funding metrics. So on the next slide, you'll see some important dates here that we have. So first things first, applications for the next cycle will open up on August the 1st, okay? And so we have two columns here. We have one column for freshman applicants and one column for transfer applicants. So on my right, your left, freshmen will apply using Common App. All freshmen apply using the Common App. And we're gonna roll out a process that didn't go so well this year, from what I learned when I came into the role, is early action and regular decision. So early action is a non-binding admission agreement for students, right? Typically, they can apply to get a decision early. And so early action application deadline will be November 1st. Then the students will have until November the 14th to get their supporting documents in to us. And then on December the 12th, we will release their decisions to them, right? So students will be able to choose. Do I want to apply early action? Do I want to apply regular decision? Or do I want to apply rolling admission? And rolling admission is simply decisions are released in an ongoing fashion. Transfer students. Transfer students will not apply using the Common App. We'll have an institutional app. So transfer students will utilize the institutional app to submit their application, and then you see the application deadlines associated for transfer students as well, and they are in line with, our decision releases for our freshmen. Okay, so these are some important dates, and more to come, and that concludes my time.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. So, briefly, one day of my son's freshman year of high school, I decided to take him to the campus of the great Bethune-Cookman University. And I toured him around the lovely campus, and I said, look at all the history. Mary McLeod Bethune walked on these grounds. And he turned to me and said, I don't have to go here, do I? And so he is a thriving junior at the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. So when you think about the rattlers in the wings, as I call them, the rattlers in waiting, the baby rattlers, I want you to think about the next slide, Jeff, and that is, what can you as parents, aunties, uncles, grandparents do to help our rattlers in the waiting get prepared? And the first thing, we really want you all to help them understand, because we are seeing this more and more. It's not how many answers you get right on the test, it's how you understand the learning process. Because you have to understand this group has been through COVID and post-COVID. And so they have adjusted. Schools have changed across the nation. And so many times, if you all as parents see that they are constantly checking their focus grades immediately after a teacher grades the assignment, they're worried about the grade, they're worried about the GPA, but not so much walking away and being able to explain what they learned. And so really help them with critical thinking. Don't say, how was your day? And then leave it at that. Talk about, what did you learn today that's going to help us in the future, so that when I'm in my senior years in a nursing home, you're solving the world's problems, okay? Then study habits are key. We have found so many of our students get that level of freedom that Dr. Hudson talked about and Dr. Collins talked about, and then their sophomore year, they're like, oh, nobody's waking me up, nobody's telling us to go to class. And so we're having to be their parents away from home. But if you start building those study habits in early, they're going to be prepared even more. And then foster the independence. Dr. Hudson did not share this, but he shared it with our senior leadership team. This is the highest percentage of students who have applied for housing and requested an individual room, an accommodation, or a service animal. And the reason that they're doing that is because they do not want to socialize with anyone. And so they have all of these accommodations listed saying, well, if I'm in the room with somebody else, my anxiety will go up. That is life, right? I'm very OCD. Knowing that my roommate would leave her shoes sprawled out, it used to drive me crazy, but I dealt with it. And then I learned how to be a better wife because my husband's the same way. Right? So it's life skills. It's life skills. But you have to teach them that resilience. Start introducing them to others who are not like them so that they can talk. Tell them to I tell my children all the time, those headphones, they're not earrings, a necklace, a purse, a backpack. They're not an accessory. Take them off. And then math is so important. And this is a difficult conversation, especially in the ethos of caring that we as people do for one another. We love each other. We say, it's okay that you didn't get math. You can still be a brain surgeon. But honestly, they can't. And I have to applaud so many of you in the Rattler alumni base because we've seen students post in Rattler alumni Facebook, I didn't get admission to nursing. And I had good grades except my math and science grades, and I should be admitted. What do you all think I should do? And so many of you, I was applauding and cheering. You said, well, frankly, if you didn't do well in those classes, I wouldn't want you to be my nurse. Because you have to look at the medicine, the calculations, the body weight, all of that. So math is the key, but that does not stop the future. You can do so many other degrees, and we have them at FAMU. And then leverage that accelerated credit pathway. Dr. Hudson covered that beautifully. Dual enrollment is going to really be the key. Getting an AA degree before you come to FAMU is going to be even more excellent for them. And this is very key. Test prep ranges from $700 to $1,500 and $2,000. When I tell you it is worth it, the students can raise their scores 100, 200 points on those standardized tests. It's a very good investment as a parent. So somebody told me 2 years ago that if you have a child that is a Rattler, you automatically become, I am a paid Alumni Association member, and I have raised a Rattler. So thank you. Turn it over to Dr. Hudson. You're going to do that? Okay. We're going to talk to you now about how our student profile has increased tremendously, and we are going to have to continue to increase it because that's what the state is banking on. There's so much more. We're going to do a part 2 next year because if you have time, look up the Florida Board of Governors SUS 30 strategic plan because everything that we've all shared with you today is going to change and the stakes are getting higher. So we need you all to be aware of that. Thank you.
All right, we love our provost. And so even though she went to that other institution, our baby sister, and as you can see, we've assembled a great team. My 2 new additions, although they are Kappas, they're okay. As long as they are led by Alpha, they do fine. So, the slide, please. I'm going to be brief because VP Neal is coming up next, and then we want to give you an opportunity. We're going to bring back up our MC that's going to guide you on the question process. Go back 1 slide, please. Hopefully you guys took a picture. If not, take out your phones and take a picture of this. We're asked, how can alumni help in recruiting baby Rattlers? And so partnering with the institution to host college readiness workshops, you also have TRIO, Upward Bound, and other programs in your state that provide test prep for free. They have summer programs. Have the students participate in those types of programs. I know many of you are in the school system, so my goddaughter's mom is one of them. So make sure that you have them participate in those programs. Working with middle school parents, students, and school administrators. Do not wait until high school. High school is too late now. You have to start early. Summer programs. I know that a lot of summer programs have been cut because of the federal cuts this year, even programs at FAMU. But there are still great programs like Tommy Mitchell Black Male Explorers Program, and those programs throughout the state and your states that students need to participate in. Help identify schools that meet the student profile. Now, we showed you where all of the schools where we get the majority of our students. And they're in our communities. But we need to know some of the other communities where we can recruit some of the best and brightest. We've gave you strategies on how to continue to meet our mission because we have to get enrollment up. Enrollment is also part of our budget. We're at about 9,300 students. We need to be 10,000, 11,000, and hopefully up to 12 and 13,000 students over the next 3 to 4 years. All right? Test prep sessions. Continue to contribute to save our students. That's very important because every little bit helps. Mr. Mitchell has helped me get donations for our Save Our Student, but also for our homeless population. We have a lot of students who are wards of the court. Parents are incarcerated on these marijuana charges or whatever that shouldn't be there anymore, but I'm not going to get on that track. But we have to continue to help our students. It's about the students. It's not about the individuals. It's about the students in our institution, and we have to contribute to that. And I'm one that do that all the time, both from financially and also to my time. And I know many of you do the same, but we get calls from other alumni who are not a part of the National Alumni Association. And my first question is, are you a member? If you're not a member, then don't tell me what I need to be doing if you're not a member of the NAA. So I'm going to bring up that, I'm leading that up to VP Neal for your charge to get up. Can y'all go ahead and put his slide up for us so he can present the information about how you can contribute to the institution and keep contributing.
Thank you, VP Hudson. I have 3 minutes to cover 21 slides. I'm teasing. I'm just Good afternoon. How's everybody? We doing okay? All right. My name is Dr. Tony Neal. I'm going to briefly cover 4 areas related to university advancement. I'm going to talk briefly about my bio because I'm relatively new. I've been here for about 4 months. We're going to talk a little bit about fundraising, university advancement fundraising. We're going to talk about National Alumni Association fundraising and updates. And we're going to close it out talking about endowments and the impact that endowments will have. University advancement consists of the Office of Alumni Affairs, the FAMU Foundation, Donor Relations, Scholarships and Endowment, and we're responsible for a very important event on campus, homecoming. So we want to just share a little bit about that. But before I get into my slide presentation, I would like to introduce the University Advancement team. So if you all could stand up in the back, we're pretty strong in terms of our numbers here today. Thank you all very much, University Advancement. We're strong in numbers to support the National Alumni Association, but also in support of our Foundation Board of Directors meeting scheduled for tomorrow and all of our foundation-related committee meetings. So those are all scheduled for tomorrow, so it'll be a busy day for us tomorrow. Are we set to go with the slide presentation? Okay. That's a thumbs up. All right, there you go. Thank you. Next slide, please. We're going to proceed pretty aggressively. A little bit about my background. I've been here for 4 months. I'm an economist by academic training, undergraduate at Denison, master's from Central Michigan, PhD from Jackson State University. I've studied my dissertation, a quantitative study of the perception, attitudes, and giving behaviors of graduates for historically black colleges. Essentially, I have studied and researched why HBCU graduates give or don't give back to their institutions. Thank you. Next slide, please. Just a little bit about my higher education, my leadership experience from Wiley University, Lemoyne College, Georgia Piedmont Technical College. I also served as president of the United Way of Rome, Georgia. My primary functions, next slide, please. My primary role and responsibility in this position is to manage the day-to-day operation of the FAMU Foundation. Later in my presentation, we're going to talk about the FAMU Foundation and to the extent to give you a better sense of our role and responsibilities with the foundation, but also to help you understand the resources that we have available. I'm also responsible for leading the fundraising team and the development efforts with University Advancement. Essentially, University Advancement is the fundraising arm for the university. Earlier, you heard a lot about performance-based funding, which is a state-based funding for the university. We're on the other end of the spectrum. We're responsible for private fundraising, private gifts, contributions, endowment, planned gifts. So you have the performance-based fundraising, metrics funding from the state, and then we have private funding, which a lot of you, fortunately, participate in. Overall, my initial overall objectives after being there for 4 months, to build a stronger, enthusiastic, or to continue to work with our strong, enthusiastic board. Our fundraising has been phenomenal over the course of the last few years, but we're also seeing a dip in our fundraising results. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. And technology, particularly AI, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence also has a significant role in advancement, particularly in terms of messaging and connecting with our donors and our prospective donors. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. Some of our fundraising opportunities. Athletics. We recently hired a major gift officer for athletics. We think that's going to really help us in terms of generating resources for our athletic department, as well as for our Marching 100. We think those are key sources, key opportunities for us. We also think that, I'm a firm believer that we should have a fundraising officer, a development officer associated with each of our academic units. Someone specifically designated to raise money for the school, for applied health, for engineering, for pharmacy, for all of our academic units. We currently don't have that. We currently have development officers assigned to 2 academic units, pharmacy and the School of Law. We can do better than that. And I also think we really need to strengthen our national fundraising efforts. FAMU, and this is someone who has not been part of the FAMU family until the last 4 months, but FAMU has a national brand. But we primarily raise money in the Southeast. We need to go to the Silicon Valley. We need to go to Napa Valley. We need to be in Chicago. We can do a better job in terms of fundraising nationally. I see tremendous opportunities for growth. We're at a growth stage, but we've got to continue to make certain that our messaging is solid and our messaging is tight. Next slide, please. One of my key objectives is the expansion of our fundraising and advancement services, our donor relations operations, our acknowledgement operations. When you make a contribution to this university, you should be acknowledged of your gift in a very timely fashion. I'm not saying that we don't. I'm just saying that we can do it better. We have a very sophisticated donor management system. We should have contact information, well, we do have contact information for all of you in our database, all of you. We need to take advantage of that technology to continue to reach out to you, to cultivate those relationships, and to help you get a better understanding of how your dollars are being used. You've heard a lot about our performance-based funding. If we're going to continue to recruit the best and the brightest students, we're going to have to be able to provide them with scholarships. The best and the brightest students, when they receive those acceptance letters from Georgia Tech, from Harvard, from Stanford, they receive the acceptance letter, and they also receive a letter saying you have a scholarship for $50,000. We want to make certain that when we send those acceptance letters to our incoming students, that we are also in position to award them with scholarships. So we've got to do a much better job in terms of communicating to our prospects and cultivating those relationships. A couple of key areas, key steps for us. Next slide, please. Look at the very bottom bullet. We need more transformational gifts. You see the amount associated with that? Those are gifts of $10 million and above. We need transformational gifts. Those are gifts that can transform an academic area, can transform a building, can transform a university. We need more transformational gifts. Now, obviously, we need all types of gifts, but transformational gifts are very, very, very significant. Next slide, please. This slide is critical. You see the statement that's highlighted, that's in bold. We need to increase support from our graduates. Let me repeat that for emphasis. We need to increase support from our graduates. The national average for historically black colleges in terms of alumni giving is about 10%. 10 to 12%. But we're the #1 public HBCU. So we should be doing double that, triple that, 20% at least. And we could do a lot better than that. You know, sure, we have some other goals. Sure, we want to raise 3 times the amount that we're raising today. And we're going to cover a little bit about where we are with fundraising today. But we really need those who are closest to us, our alumni, our graduates, to support us in a big way. Next slide, please. I want to talk a little bit about our fundraising, give you an update on our fundraising for this year currently. Next slide. Last year, we generated almost $25 million in fundraising. This in private gifts and contributions outside of the performance-based funding. This year, as you can see, we're not quite there yet. And we're probably not going to achieve that $25 million goal. You know, we've been very, very, very successful over the course of the last few years. But unfortunately, we've been somewhat understaffed in terms of fundraising, and I think it's catching up with us. So we're not going to be there. We're not going to get that $25 million goal. We've got 1 month left in this fiscal year. So we're going to be down in terms of private fundraising. Overall, the new cash is about where we were last year in terms of new dollars, new contributions. But you know, it's easier to get someone who has already contributed than to get new dollars. So we need to maintain or have a higher rate of retention, which means we need more of those donors who are currently giving to give again. Our pledges and planned gifts, that should be a key growth area for us. Planned gifts, estate giving, which means that as we grow older and think about our legacy, we need to see if we need to make efforts to include Florida A&M University in our estate planning. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. We need to plan for it. Next slide, please. Just some graphs showing overall our fundraising efforts over the course of the last few years. What's highlighted here, our corporate giving, the green graph, and then you can see corporate giving is down pretty significantly. You see the green is last year, the gold is this year, particularly with corporations. You can also see alums, government organizations. Overall, our fundraising across the board is down this fiscal year. Next slide, please. This is just a graph over the course of the last 10 years or so. You see we spiked over the course of the last 3 years. Our fundraising was anywhere between, our private gift fundraising, anywhere between $20 and $25 million. As you can see, it took a significant dip this year, a significant dip. Next slide, please. We continue to build a closer relationship with our National Alumni Association. Next slide. And as a result, we really want to sort of evolve or expand our scholarship process. I'm not going to read the steps that we've considered, that we're working with our local chapters to sort of tighten that area. That's been an area of some concerns over the last couple of years. But we're working with our team to sort of tighten up that area. We know some of those chapters have had questions. We want to clarify those issues and make it a smoother process. Next slide. I want to make certain that all that information is compiled and that our records are very clear for our chapters to have access to that information, but more importantly for our scholarship recipients to have that information in a timely manner. You know, we've sort of somewhat fallen off in terms of making certain that information, those students receive that information. I want to talk about endowments. Next slide, please. As you know, the foundation maintains all of the endowments that you've created, that organizations have created. Next slide. Just want to share with you the value of our foundation. Our foundation has more than $198 million in assets. That's a pretty healthy foundation. And our overall goal as part of our strategic plan was to achieve $200 million in value by 2027. So we're on pace in terms of the growth of our foundation to achieve that. You know, the foundation, those dollars are tied into scholarships, academic areas, and scholarships and support for our students. Here's the overall endowment value as of March 25th, 2025, $127 million, which is right in line with the endowment value goal of $150 million. It's a healthy endowment. It's a healthy endowment that's used to support our students. Next slide. This is very important. The next information. Financial stability and the operations of the foundation and our endowment. We are audited every year. We have a clean audit. We have a clean operational audit for the operation of our finances associated with the foundation. So we're solid from that standpoint. Our budget, the foundation's operation budget is approved by the university's Board of Trustees. That meeting is June the 11th and the 12th for our 25-26 operational budget for the foundation. Next slide. This statement is very important in terms of understanding how endowment funds can be used. Endowment funds can only be used for the purpose that they have been contributed. That gift agreement, I think it's referred to here as a gift instrument, It's the guiding force for any and every endowment. Endowment funds, and I want to be very, very clear on this, endowment funds can only be used for the purpose that they were contributed. This is a Florida state law. Next slide. Thank you.
Y'all put your hands together for Dr. Neal again. It's Dr. Neal. He corrected me. He said, I worked hard for that PhD from the wrong university, but he got one, so we just kidding. I know what y'all were thinking. Was this helpful by short rant? Okay. We're a little bit over, but we thought this was real important. This is probably one of the most important ones, and I know what y'all were thinking, the same thing I was thinking. Lord, thank you so much that I got through FAM when I did. These kids, I don't want to be these kids right now, and I got two going to be going to FAM. I told them, y'all got to be serious. It ain't no joke. You can't be like Dad. You remember when Johnson put them maths? I was 0.5 on this scale, if you want to know where I was on math. I'm going somewhere else. All right, dual enrollment's key. Test scores matter, especially math, and it's 4-year graduation or bust. That's the program. We're going to do some Q&A, and if anybody wants to have some questions, please come up to the mic just so we can be orderly and we won't have to pass it around. VP Durden is going to assist us. Thank you so much in advance. Please come up to the mic, and while we're doing that, I know Chuck has a quick programming update. Chuck, if you can come on up for that while they're lining up, I would appreciate it. Oh Lord, this is our most popular session. Let me change it. If you have a question, you got to pay our VP Durden $20 first. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. Come on, Chuck, real quick, and we're going to go over just a few minutes, and then Reggie Mitchell will be coming with the budget town hall. Chuck.
Good afternoon again, everyone. We're doing extremely well on our timing today, especially in the morning session. And due to that, we'll have some changes for tomorrow's schedule. Okay? Please listen closely. Because we are doing so efficiently on time, we're going to have some changes in tomorrow's schedule. In tomorrow morning's continuation session, you'll hear from 4 people: secretary, recording secretary, the treasurer, Board of Trustees Chair Harper, Foundation Chair Neighbors, and then we will go into the first session of what was supposed to be in the afternoon of budget and bylaws. Budget will be moved up to the morning session. Everybody get that? This is your notice. So don't say we're not operating in the sunshine. Budget will be moved up to tomorrow's morning session. Okay? And depending upon time in tomorrow morning session, bylaws may move up to tomorrow morning session. We're clear? Crystal clear. Okay. Thank you.
Chuck's serious now about that schedule. All right. Dr. Hudson, if you'll come up, we'll start with the first questions for the team. Chuck, let Dr. Hudson come up. We're over time. Okay. Thank you, sir. Dr. Hudson, Q&A. Thank you guys again.
All right.
All right. Good afternoon to the panel. Xavier Durden, Southern Region Vice President, Southwest Tennessee Chapter, Memphis, Tennessee. My question was around the performance-based funding update. I think I heard that we were slated for an 83. The stretch goal was an 85. And then listening to some of the presidential candidates' interviews on campus, I won't call any names, but there was a candidate that mentioned that they were positioned through resources and relationships to move Florida A&M University to preeminent status. So I wanted to understand what that score looked like and then what the feasibility of preeminence would be based on what preeminence is defined as in Florida for Florida A&M University.
Dr. Johnson.
Preeminent. Preeminent status would mean currently in the SUS there are 4 institutions that have preeminent status: FSU, UF, South Florida,
FIU.
and FI. No, oh, they're rising. Sorry, they're rising preeminent. So for us to get to preeminent status, we're already. Let's look at UF for instance. Our APR is 86. UF's APR is 96. Our ACT score is a 23. UF's ACT score is 31. Our average GPA is a 3.8. UF has an average GPA of 4.5. And I can go on and on. So achieving preeminent status would put us up in those stratospheric metrics.
My question was more so around the feasibility of us getting there. I just want to understand if what was pitched is realistic in this time frame, or I know we've had a lot of sustained growth, but I'm just want to know, is that feasible? Is that possible?
Ooh,
You want me to? I'll answer it. It's not realistic.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson.
Now, to caveat though, what is realistic is we can slow creep to that point to where we can be in contention for that. Because remember, those institutions receive recurring funding for the past 20 years since it started. So we've got to catch up, which you can't catch up with that amount of money, and realistically. Yes, ma'am.
All right, so my protege, great. So it's not a question for you all. I want to make sure everyone out here understands that there was some information that was given that you all may have questions on. I want to get ahead of that. Is that the training program that Dr. Hudson and Mr. Pierce talked about? We have been, and so for those who can't hear me, this is to VP Pinkert speaking. So we have been talking with them about this training program. So chapters, be on the lookout for more information specifically about how this program is going to roll out. It will be coming to you. And then the other thing I want you all to be aware of, I just forgot just that fast. Just getting senior, the Rattler program, and then there was one more. Not the Ignite.
The Living Learning Community?
Oh, no, just that fast. No.
Summer Bridge?
It was another program we were working on. Yep, back to it. Just that fast.
Okay. Yes, sir.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Sebastian Alexander, First Vice President for the Northeast Region, immediate past President for the New Jersey chapter, 4th generation Rattler. 2 questions that we have been discussing in our region. 1, there has been a stiff decline within black males being admitted to HBCUs. Are we focusing, is anything happening with the black males regarding that? The second question is the time frame in which we award students. We are award monies, saying that they're being admitted, because we are losing a lot to North Carolina A&T. So where are we in that process, awarding earlier? I know we talked about something about the enrollment November date, whoever that was talking about that. Are we doing anything to combat losing potentially good students to other HBCUs or other institutions, period?
So actually, we have been awarding early. Like all freshmen right now who don't have any issues with FAFSA have already been awarded.
Okay.
And so even when you complete FAFSA, you get an email indicating what they are awarded, and then scholarship students are awarded by February so that they know what they're getting as well. Okay. And so we utilize the same criteria that Howard, Spelman, and the others use as well. But what students do is try to compare who I'm getting the most money from.
Of course.
And then with Florida, you know, we have a little higher standards than we already showed you, graduation rates, retention rates, and things of that nature. So we do look at math and those types of things. So we are awarding. We do not have financial aid lines. Okay?
No
We
more.
do not have financial aid lines. Everything is done online. All right? So now, if the parents done lied on their application and they claiming some other children, we can't help that. If they haven't completed FAFSA and turned in documents, we can't help that either. All right? So it's more to it than just awarding. It's a lot of other intricate things. You thought about what your question was?
Well, don't forget the first part.
Oh, you got another one?
No, the black male.
Oh, black male. We are doing some things, but there's a decline in black male graduation from high school. Let's first deal with that because there's a significant decline in black male graduation from high school. And remember, and this is my education, I was in the College of Education as well, third grade disciplinary actions determine how many black males continue to go to high school, middle and high school. So it's a lot more data in our communities that we have to address in our churches, in our fraternities and sororities to help with not only black males, but black females as well. Right now, it's about a 65-35 split, female to male at FAMU. And that's nationwide. In some places it's worse. It's 70-30. In some places 75 as well. So we've got to do something within our communities to help with that. And that's, you know, something that we can discuss more when I come up north to the recruitment event that you're preparing for me.
Absolutely. And our regional. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, Rattlers, we're gonna we are over, but we want to get to all these questions. We're gonna have two real requests. Let's keep the questions very concise so that Dr. Hudson and his team can answer them, and then we're probably going to stop it after the wonderful lady from the Atlanta Metro chapter in the orange. Okay, because we do need to do the budget. We still have the business of the NAA, and then we need to get to our regional leaders so they can have time with their teams. Okay.
The scholarship template that they talked about earlier, chapters be aware that we just got that about a week ago, and so we will have a session online to go through what that template looks like, how to complete all of that. So if anyone had a question about that, just know, go ahead, that we are working on that.
And if we miss anyone who comes up with questions later, we will be around to answer questions. Yes, good brother, with that beautiful jacket on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm an artist. I have a underhand softball question. In this, I believe it was the lady who gave most of that presentation. In your study regimen that's required, it was not clear to me that there are established study groups within specific courses, which I personally would recommend. But would you clear that up for me, please?
Sure. So we have several different study tools. We have 3 learning centers on campus with tutors, but we also have Tutor Ocean AI, so we're using an AI tool, and we have 2 online platforms as well, NAC.com as well as Tutor.com, where students can get support. We do encourage faculty to form study groups, and we're rolling out a new technology in the fall called Circle In, which is what you're talking about, where students form the study groups, very similar to like a GroupMe. The students join, and it's incentivized when they do the things that are needed to prepare for exams.
Yeah, it's been my experience. It really, really works well. Thank you.
And in addition to that, the NAC program is 24 hours a day. It's not like those of you that used to go to the late night library and say you were studying. It's actually a study tool that's 24 hours a day, and they hire students to tutor other students. So it's a win-win, so students can make money and they can arrange times to meet on campus to study and form study groups. So you're absolutely right.
Okay, I didn't have a question, but I do, having worked in admission office and had to give the status of applications, I didn't have to ask anybody because in too many cases, the students just didn't have grades. And so one of the things I want to say that it's important that alumni now across the state get involved with a process of trying to make sure that our school boards have college curriculum, because we don't have enough kids graduating that's ready for college, so we really need to do that. And in terms of the fundraising, I think it's really important if the university has a standard annual fund that covers all of the needs, because people tend to give money more so when they know what the money is for. And I do think we need to get rid of one of the valid criticism is that we have to make sure that there is an annual report to indicate how the money was used.
Hard to follow. Good afternoon, Lillian Dickey Davis. I'm here advocating for those students who just need an opportunity, so I'm asking about alternative admissions. I understand that all of your admissions have to be data-driven, but I'm a person who benefited from the opportunity. My inner city high school is one of the most underfunded in the state of New Jersey, but I got the opportunity to come to FAMU. If you look at my numbers, whether it's my GPA, my SAT score, you would not see an attorney standing.
See, that's the, hey, God is trying to tell you something.
She's out of state.
I'm not saying a large number, but just carve out a section for those who need a different environment in order to be a success.
So, but what the Bible said, faith without works is what? All right, so it is an opportunity, but they have to take advantage of it. And we have that info, but that alternative admission still means college readiness. So it still have to be, it's not like it was back then. So we can't compare that. We have to have college readiness, and there are opportunities. That's what I'm saying. That's why the community college aspect during high school, that's the opportunity we're trying to push our alumni and everyone to take advantage of so that they will be prepared so we don't have to look at test scores.
No, I guess you didn't understand my question.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bullet point about it, but no information given. So is that coming at a later time, or is that a different
So the bullet point on alternative admissions was what she talked about with the summer program.
Okay.
And so with those admissions criteria, we're giving you the pathway. You don't have to have the test scores, but you've got to have some college preparation before you come in.
Right.
So that's why we're trying to give you sort of the menu of what needs to there you go, that pathway.
No,
so you don't have to have any scores.
Okay, gotcha.
You have to have some grades. You ain't got to have the scores, but you also have that intermediate intervention to help them.
No,
and also, I'm glad you said that. We do have the CDAR program for students who have disabilities, who may have challenges that are documented, but we only have 30 spaces, so they have to apply early. So there are alternatives like that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm Sherwood, President of Leon County Chapter. My question is regarding the Ignite program. And this is Archer 100, understand musician, you talked about going to TCC. But if we go back and remember with the Robert Champion fallout, we stopped allowing TSC students to march in the band if they were not registered, obviously. Has there been any, it's been about, what, 15 years now, has there been any consideration about revamping so that they take advantage of going to TS? No. And so it won't happen?
No. I'm going to leave it at that. No.
Okay. All right.
No. No.
So my only concern
in actuality,
yeah.
Even with that, the actuality is the band have more members now than even at that time, presently, in talking with Dr. Chipman. So we need to get the grades right, because if they meet the standard as well as the community college stuff before they come to FAMU, they can be admitted as well.
I got you. Okay,
so
we'll see.
They need to, and Dr. Chipman is working on a plan.
So you're going to hold us at that 380. We're going to keep getting 380 on the field.
We're going to keep getting 380.
Or
at
more.
At home, right? Unless the banker going to give us some money, because it costs $400,000 to move them per game.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson and the panel for allowing me to ask this question. My name is Patricia Shaw. I'm the president of the FAMU Broward Alumni Chapter in Fort Lauderdale. In Fort Lauderdale, we do a lot of recruitment, and we do believe in student success and readiness. One of the things that we're having a question about is the decision for FAMU to make or start the CLT. A lot of my students are asking questions about it, wanting to know why should we use that instead of the ACT, SAT, and I would just like to get your opinion on it. Thank you.
You said, why do we use the CLT?
Yes, it's currently being used as one of the choices.
It just came into play with the state. They just
Right.
approved it to be used. Are you asking why they approved it, or?
Why did I'm saying, why did FAMU choose to use a CLT? It's not a popular thing, but some of the kids are saying that they could use that. But if they're going to a class or a major with STEM, the CLT is not a good choice. So my question is, why is FAMU choosing to use that, and how do we as alumni, when we're recruiting, decide whether or not to counsel a student on the CLT or the ACT or SAT?
Well, we don't have a choice because we're a state university. We have to use it. When it became state law that is allowable. Now, the thing that we do is look at those students' math scores to see if they're ready to go into those majors, and then we encourage them to change the major.
So that's done once they get to FAMU and be accepted, but they would have to do orientation.
During orientation.
Would you require them to come back and take the ACT or SAT if they want to go into a STEM program, or no?
We recommend that they do it, and then if they don't, typically they're not math ready.
Okay,
And
thanks.
so we encourage them to go into another major.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Dr. Nikita McCaskill-McPherson from Greater Orlando Chapter, Student Recruitment Chair. My question is for Dr. Collins. What form of accountability is utilized by your department for students to make sure that they are going to those study sessions for that first year program?
So with our Tutor Ocean platform, the students sign in through that platform in all of the centers. So we're able to track when they sign into the centers. And then in the summer program, our peer mentors are actually monitoring what the students are doing. So we're not just allowing them to come and sit, but they're being monitored by the peer mentors.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Van Russ, Regional Vice President for the Far West Region, member of the Las Vegas chapter. My question is on the IGNITE program. And I'd like to know how we can expand the IGNITE program outside the state of Florida, or come up with an alternative that would support the other regions outside the state of Florida.
Okay, so you can't expand the IGNITE program. That's a Florida program. But we can work directly with community colleges, because we also work with some community colleges in California. And we can do that for Las Vegas and other areas as well, and get them our curriculums. The reason why we can't promise that all credits will transfer, because it is out of state. In the state of Florida, there's an articulation that we have. I'm actually president of the State of Florida Articulation Committee, where every credit can transfer throughout the state of Florida. We're the only state that has that kind of program. And so it's about the courses and what's able to transfer and what's not able to transfer.
Okay.
But there are some strategies we can do together that if you would like to talk about some opportunities to be able to work with those state colleges. I'm actually working with the state colleges in New York, CUNY, because we have several Rattlers that are presidents of those community colleges in New York, and I'm working with them directly and have been so for the last year to do some things to help them transfer to FAMU.
Okay, I think it would be very valuable for us to do that, especially since Texas is number 3 on your recruitment list. All right, my region. Thank you.
And since you're stepping down as president, I'm going to charge you with making sure you get that done.
Good afternoon. I am Morgan Culler. I'm the current corresponding secretary, and I'm out of the Charlotte metro region. My question is in regards to the students coming in with AA degrees, and how does that affect the 4-year graduation rate in the percentage?
Great question. I love that question. So what we're doing, and we're playing the game that other institutions play. So those students who come in with an AA degree come in as first-time in college freshmen, right? They don't change to sophomores or juniors until after their first semester. So when they come in the fall, they're a part of our cohort number for the 4-year graduation rate. But it should not, I'm going to repeat that, it should not take them 4 years to graduate. It should only take them 2 years, right? So guess what?
So now
when we run the report for those graduation rates for that year, they would have already graduated, and we can increase that number from 40% to 60% if the more students we have that have the AA degree.
Okay. So
Now, the only problem with that is this.
If they change.
They have the AA degree, but have they also taken the prerequisites for some of the majors that require prerequisites? How many business majors we have? So y'all know y'all had to take financial accounting, business calculus, and all those other courses, right? You can get your AA degree without taking those courses, but then you're still behind because you haven't taken those prerequisite courses. That's the same for STEM, it's the same. And then some people ask me about student maturity. Because they're coming in at such a young age, having to make the transition. So we have to work that much closer with them through our programs to make sure they have all the resources they need. Because one such student was Curtis Lawrence, who came from DC, who graduated this year and was 16 when he came in. But we guided him throughout the process, along with some other students that graduated in 4 years. Well, prior to 4 years, but.
And so my second part of the question is, because I was a transfer student, but I didn't come in with an AA degree. So for those students who transfer in after 1 year, how does that affect, or is it the same thing?
Well, if they don't, they transfer in after 1 year, they're not in the numbers.
They're not in at all.
They're in for graduation rate overall,
Right.
but they're not in the numbers for performance-based
For
funding.
performance-based. Okay, thank you.
There you go. You learn how to play that game. I see you. I see you.
Thank you all so much for all the information you have shared with us. I'm Emma Fountain from Atlanta Metro Chapter, where I was a former chair of membership and fundraiser. I'm a member of both now. And I would just like to say, I don't know how many of you remember the old Negro spiritual. If you ever needed the Lord before, you sure do need him now. And I would just like to paraphrase. If you ever needed you rattlers before, we sure do need you now. Thank you.
Thank you. Amen.
That was the most appropriate way to end this session. All right, I don't have nothing to add except give yourselves a round of applause. You hung in there with us. Let's give Dr. Hudson and all his team and these are our all-stars making it happen. And what we're going to do now to be sensitive to the schedule, because we're going to talk about how we're spending this money, and we got the esteemed Reginald Mitchell, who's chair of our Budget and Finance Committee, who will come up and start doing our budget town hall. Thank you again, Dr. Hudson and your team. And we really appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing y'all at the reception and all the other stuff we're doing. Free drinks on me, as long as it's water. All right. The regional breakout will be right after the budget town hall. It's just going to be about a short budget town hall, because we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to ask their questions about our budget, about how we're allocating money, And then from there, we're going to go straight into the regional breakout. So we are a little bit over, but we thought this session was so important it was worth the stretch. And so without further ado, Reggie, are you ready? Yes, I'm ready. Okay. So I'll turn it over to Reggie, and let's use this mic here on the podium.
All right.
Is it connected?
Hello?
Okay.
Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2.
Hey guys, real quick. I know that some people may need to use the restroom. What we're going to do, instead of taking a full break, because you know some of y'all, when y'all break, y'all break. We're just going to do, if you need to go, please go and come back. And those who want to participate in the budget town hall, let's stay and do that. And I would ask that those who are having conversations, in respect to those who want to hear from the budget, let's take those out to the hallway. So if you need to take a quick bio break, please do that. If you need to have a conversation, please go out in the hallway and do that. And then let's let Reggie have the time to go over the budget. I see several people still sitting, so let's move into that. And I'm gonna bring the mic to you. Again, attention Rattlers. Excuse me, Rattlers. Let's be respectful. We're going into the budget thing. I know we need to talk. If you need to talk, I'm just going to ask you to step outside for a minute so that Reggie can have the undivided attention of the room. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. My name is Reggie Mitchell, recording secretary, but also Budget and Finance Committee chair. I'm going to go straight to it, and we've had one before, and I'm going to present information on the budget to be approved tomorrow. All right, so the members of the committee, this is what I intended to show you earlier. We have the members of the committee, the 13 members of the committee, myself, Brigadier General Leroy Bell, Ms. Joy Davies, Ms. Sharon Duncan, Xavier Durden, Regina Gardner, Ben Johnson, LaTanya Johnson, Carla Johnson Harris, Anthony Siders, Keith Shannon, Angelia Williams, and Dr. Nanette Williams. So all of them have respective titles at the national level and serve from various regions. All right, so according to Section 9 of the bylaws, there's a required process, all right? It starts in 1004.28 Florida statutes. It's in the Board of Trustees policies. It's in the Board of Trustees regulations, and it's in our bylaws that we got 60 days before the convention. We're supposed to have this budget ready to present to the board and to the membership. So we got the budget approved by the committee on March 17th, 2025. On March 19th, 2025, the executive board approved this budget. We had one previous public town hall on April 2nd, 2025. Mr. Rush, stay outside. Thank you. All right, so on a previous budget town hall, today's the second budget town hall, and tomorrow, as you've heard, it was supposed to be scheduled for 2 p.m., but it's been moved possibly to the morning. We have to vote on this to approve the budget. If and when it's approved by the membership, it must go to the Board of Trustees by statute and regulation to approve. They generally do that, as you heard from our former member Otis Clyott, in the July or August meeting of the Board of Trustees, and this budget is available. This proposed budget's in the flipping book, but it's also available on the website on the very first page, FAMUNAA.org. You'll see a link to this budget. All right, so the proposed budget, let me share it with you. Boom. All right, so on the revenue side, and as you know how budgets work, oh, I'm sorry, let me stop. On Excel, how do we switch it from this PowerPoint to a different file? I got to stop sharing. Okay, let me cut it out. Okay, there it goes. All right, so I hope you can see it clearly. Is it clear enough? All right, let me see. Let me see if I can move it over some. It's really these three columns that we're dealing with. The rest is a note, but it's available in the PDF. But these three columns, for regular and associate members, we're budgeting for 3,000 members at $50 each. So that's where you get the $150,000 figure. We're also asking for the interest from the 197 life membership account. We're expecting to use $55,000. I think it comes to about $98,000 now at this point on the $2 million interest, but we're expecting to use $55,000 of the $98,000 coming in for the next year to do this budget. $100,000 we expect to raise for fundraising, $600 and 30 participants for FAMU Day at the Capitol. Even though the university is taking care of it, there are other expenses besides what the university takes care of. So they're still going to charge $20 for that, and we have $600 expected to be raised for that. $5,000 in revenue from various athletic events comes to $310,600. For life membership, new life members, we expect to raise $225,000, 300 new life members at $750 each. But understand, everything in this restricted income area, whatever we bring in for revenue, we have to use that on the expenditure side for the same thing for which it's earmarked. So even though we're bringing it in for revenue, we can't use it for anything other than to put in the 197 account. Same thing for subscribing life members. We are expecting to get 25 new subscribing life members for $3,750 on the revenue side. On the expenditure side, the same thing will be put in 197. Same thing for student life members, 2,500 to be brought in for that. For contributions, I guess corporate or other chapter or other contributions, $13,000. $1,500 for the $1 million campaign endowment. Right now, it's only $1,500. We asked each member of the executive board to give, $50 for that, to go towards that 1404, and we used that money for scholarships out of 1405. So we're expecting $1,500 for that. $10,000 to be brought in for endowed fund scholarship earnings, which is just like the 197 account and the 198 interest. The two interest-bearing accounts we have are the 198 account and the 1405 account. So we're saying we're going to bring in $10,000 new dollars for 1405 to use that for various scholarships. Retention scholarships, we're expecting to raise at least $60,000 in 1894, $50,000 for FAMU First, which we've already raised for coaches to help supplement that, and $27,000 for contributions to the university. So at the Saturday breakfast, people are going to earmark things specific to the university. We're going to put it in that account for that. Other corporate contributions, $10,000, $12,000 we're going to charge for bus transportation to various games, OBC, Florida Classic, and others. So whatever we charge is whatever we'll pay for that same event. That's $12,000. So all of this will be on the expenditure side to be used for that purpose. That's $414,750. Restricted scholarships, we talked about $250,000. The chapters were raised, so we got to use it just for what that's expressly earmarked for. Unrestricted scholarships, we expect to raise $20,000. Alumni unrestricted scholarships, I think that's a carry forward. Yeah, carry forward from what's currently in the account, 206, $3,176. We plan to use all that money that was earmarked for scholarships to use it for scholarships for this next year. Same thing for this alumni transfer in, $3,176. Ultimately, the endowment transfer in, we're going to take $68,000 additional monies to be brought in from the 198 account to pay for scholarships. Total scholarships, $345,101. $15,000 for the DAA gala and $25,000 for your annual meeting. A total amount $1,110,450.60. Now, on the expenditure side, pretty much the same thing. We're going to show you how we plan to spend all of that. For printing, nothing. For Media and Technology Committee, $30,307.10, so that's new CRM system, other softwares and other applications. $16,750 for the annual external audit and internal audit. $50,000 for membership packets for the life membership, pins and plaques, etc. $14,000 for executive board travel for 20 officers. $18,000 for presidential travel. $3,000 for homecoming. $9,000 for all the various regions to get $1,500 per region to do for events of the NAA within their region, usually centered around athletic events or other events where many of our members attend. $7,500 for a hospitality suite at the Classic. $5,000 for hospitality suite at the OBC. $4,000 for governmental relations. A lot of this, we remind you, is that the university, for the first time in many years, is taking on Florida Day at the Capitol, so a lot of expenses we used to have to pay, we no longer have to pay, but there's still other expenses needed by that committee to travel to various BOT, BOG events, so we're giving them $4,000 for that. And unfortunately, until we get rid of this problem, check charges, that's what about it's coming to, so once we find a way to transfer all convenience fees and other fees back to the original donor, that's what we've kind of been paying in charges for convenience fees for people to use credit and debit cards on the internet. Lastly, administrative charges, other check charges to write a check, $3,500. $61.25 for the annual report that's done every year, and $5,000 for the theoretical president's expense account. The president can spend up to $5,000 without executive board approval, as long as it's not something that the president knows that the executive board has opposed. They can spend up to $5,000 for that. And $9,000 for NAA publicity expenses, galas, other events, $9,000. $10,000 for the fundraising committee to use as seed money to make the $100,000 they plan to raise, and other contingencies, $500, and $120 for postage. Liability insurance just for the executive board, $1,900, $62.25. $10,000 for student recruitment committee to use for various things to assist the chapters with, and $12,000, the same one from the revenue side for expenses on the expense side. Below, that's $229,760. The same amounts that we had on the scholarship side for revenue, we're bringing again on the expenditure side. So $150,000 for NAA scholarships, $250,000 for chapter scholarships, $8,000 the professional licensure exam. So I know the College of Law and the School of, I believe it's nursing or allied health, they've made budget requests, and as we've done for the last 4 years, give them monies to improve their high-stakes testing scores. $60,000 for SOS retention from the other side, contributions to the university from the other side, $50,000 for FAMU First for the coaches' salaries, $27,000 for FAMU clearing, total $558,000. Annual meeting $25,000 from the other side, and $15,000 for DAA. Total expenses of $40,000 for that. New life members, the same amount that we pulled in has to be earmarked for that account. $231,000 to $250,000. $1,500 for NAA $1 Million campaign endowment from the executive board members paying towards scholarships, and $10,000 brought in from the interest from the 1404 account is in the 1405. That's $242,750. Total amount $110,450.60. These two amounts balance, and so we have a balanced budget. And with that, I will take any questions that you have. Yes, Miss. Go ahead, Miss Avis. That was you, right? You have a microphone? Okay, thank you. Yes, Miss Avis Payne is first. And then Mr. Tommy Mitchell. Oh, Lord.
Hey. So.
I'm tired. I'm sleepy now. Go ahead.
So I just, oh, this is loud. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I walked up here because my vision is not good, so I can see the numbers. But I would appreciate if you could talk a little bit more about, did you say $50,000 for life membership, pins and plaques, or did I miss that?
Yeah, for the membership committee expenses, It has been more than that. It's been a lot more than that, but obviously that comes, instead of taking the money from the $750 that the members pay, I think there's a proposal to add more to $750 to pay these expenses, but until then, we're taking it out of the 211 operating account. So the whole $750 goes into the 197, and we get endowed interest from that. But from that interest that we put into our operating, we're using it to pay for the actual expenses associated with members' life membership. So you get a plaque, you get a pin, and shipping, and the membership committee there, Chair, can tell you all those expenses.
Okay, so plaque and a pin, the cost,
shipping,
and the cost of shipping.
Right.
And I think you said you projected 300 new life members.
Correct.
And 25 subscribing life, but you don't get your stuff until you finish. So help me understand how 300 new members, expenses for pins and plaques and shipping totals $50,000.
I think from what we occurred is, instead of just doing it for those individuals at a higher unit cost, we started buying things in bulk to get lesser unit costs. So over time, we won't have to spend the same money, but that's what contributes to that.
I have some real concerns about that line item. Okay, another question. So I think you said you built the membership revenue on 3,000 regular members, right?
Correct.
What's our current number of regular subscribing members?
I think that question was asked in committee. It's about 6,000 this year. Is it 4,500, 5,000? I can't remember what the number is. But whatever, go ahead. You can tell them, but let me give you this caveat. Irrespective of what it is this year, it's always the case in an election year, membership goes up significantly so people can vote. Right, so we kind of use historical information that in a non-election year, possibly the first year after the election, what it will be, and that's what we base our budget on. Now, if we exceed that, then we'll know in the future to use a larger number, but right now we're being conservative. That's what it's been historically.
So is that like represent a 5-year average? What's the 5-year average? Do we know?
I don't have those figures in front of me, but I know the committee looked at historically what it has been, and we had the treasurer and the financial secretary on the call, and that's the figure we came up with.
Okay, so I'll just wait one last comment and I'll pass it on. The $68,000 transfer from reserve basically means we're operating in the red.
No, it's not.
Well, yes, it does. Because you're pulling money from your reserve and you're not building your expenditure base on your projected revenues.
Okay.
And that's a concern.
All right.
So,
well, okay, so just to respond to that, we make about $98,000 annually at minimum, and it's growing exponentially. And what we were saying was we're encouraging more and more life members so that even when they go to the great beyond, their interest and their money is coming in from the 197, right? So we have transferred far less than we normally do, because that 198 account we treat it as an operating reserve, right? If we have contingencies like COVID or anything else goes wrong, that's a fund we pull from, but we decided this year to take only $68,000 as opposed to $100,000+ that we've taken in previous years. But all of that is interest from the life memberships, and that's why we encourage the increase of life memberships, so we benefit from that even more than annual members who may or may not come each year.
Okay, I see that the $10,000 for recruitment money was approved. Now, what is the process in terms of, is that money going to the admission office so that when the chapters request recruitment materials, that the admission office has it, or what's the process?
That's a chairman of the recruitment committee question. Historically, we put it there for things like chapters want to get banners and other recruitment materials that you work with, and the university didn't have the available money. It was available for that. but whoever the chair, the next incoming chair of the recruitment committee will decide what that's for, but that's what it was requested for.
Okay.
For recruitment materials to give to the Office of Student Affairs to dole out to chapters.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking, because the last year that didn't happen.
Okay.
And I was directly responsible. The chapters had to call me for the materials.
Right.
And the amount of requests we got was just enormous. So the mission officers really need those funds to make sure that they have the materials prepared.
Right. So again, the new chair of the recruitment committee can work. Sometimes, even though we budget funds, we don't meet the marks on all the benchmarks on membership or whatever. We did, in fact, this year, so we'll work to make sure that those funds can go to that purpose, because we always try and give the university what it needs. You gonna tell my mother? All right, don't tell my mommy.
Whoa.
I'm in
All
trouble
right.
now. Okay, who I got to kill to get that money to FAMU? Yes, ma'am.
Question for you, Reggie. Thank you for the information. You mentioned the $20,000 line for the fees.
Oh, yeah.
Now, can you elaborate on that a little bit? And is there any way for us to prevent that? Is that something, those are fees that we get when we're paying things?
Right. So whether you know it or not, we want to make it real easy for people to pay their dues, to make donations, to do whatever on the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always is the case, there are associated convenience fees. So MasterCard, Visa, whatever the case, they charge fees. And instead of it going to the donor, like you would get like with PayPal, if you're giving it to a friend, they're saying, hey, since it's to a friend, why don't you pay that $2.50, right, or that $3? And you're like, yeah, no problem. I'm giving it to my sister, no problem, right? So you don't see that fee. Well, unfortunately, the way the system is set up with our current bank and the current third-party system they use, it doesn't allow the transfer of that fee to the donor, right? So about 2 years ago, Budget and Finance says, let's switch that. Let's allow the possibility of the donor. When I give money to FAMU, I'm like, yeah, I'll pay $5 because I want them to get the whole 100 or 50 or whatever I'm going to get them. We haven't actually executed that.
Okay,
so
we need to
Van Russ and others will tell you we're working on that, but until that time, we often get told by third parties, oh, we can't transfer to the donee, and I know that's not the case, but as a volunteer organization, we got to take the time to make that happen. We're looking to do that in this fiscal year, yes.
All right, Mr. Mitchell, quick question about that $50,000, right? Going back, this is one of the parts of our robust conversation in the Northeast region regarding the plaques and all of that good stuff.
Okay.
Now, you said that we buy in bulk. Pens I understand because they are the same. Plaques, you can't. Or how are we buying plaques in bulk? Because the plaques have their name on it.
Right, yeah. I think we buy the product before the fact and then we customize it. But the membership chair can tell you.
Okay, so that we all know, and can you move over? I want everyone to see me. The most important thing is for us to know is this. It costs $86 in 2024-2025 monies for us to purchase the plaques and the pens. And the plaques, the pens, and the cards, which have been budgeted, and let's say budgeted, we included all of that. So it's under $90 that it cost. $750, as Reggie states, goes directly into the restricted fund. And that's what I spoke about earlier, and we were able to garner in the last 3 years just over 700 people who became life members. We had one brand new one today, thank you, Ann Gibson. And most importantly, we are able to not touch that money, but it cost us $86. Now, we do not have the luxury of having a bevy of plaques ready for us to print. So we did buy in bulk. Instead of paying $65 per plaque on a one-time basis, we buy in bulk of $150, and we're able to get it down to $55. In order for us to then ship it, we ship it to your individual homes. That costs $15, and all of that is within the $86. So yes, we do buy in bulk. If we bought one, it would be $75. If we bought 15, it would be $55. So we buy it so we would save money and save your money. Now,
Why is it important? And I see people are talking, and the very people talking are the ones that are going to ask questions later. So the most important thing is this. As we're looking, and we had a line item, and we asked for $30,000. We asked for $30,000 because it costs for 300 plaques, pens, and cards at $86. That's just under $26,000. So having that money appropriated is enable us to buy the items in advance. Because we don't have the monies ready, that's why people have been waiting for their plaques, because we don't have the money to put forth. So he's trying to get us to approve having the money in advance, so the very people that are calling and wondering where their plaques are will be able to get their plaques, because we'll be able to pay for their plaques to then get their plaques, and then I won't have to have as many phone calls that I take happily, and I make sure, I will wrap it up, Chuck, but I'm going to answer this question. So most importantly, this. If we do not want that line item, and if anyone has a problem with that line item, then we should just put a moratorium for a while on doing plaques, because if we keep taking your money, you're going to keep being mad, and you're mad at me for no reason. So, bottom line is, either budget it or come up with another way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deborah Payton-Jones.
Hey,
Dr.
Reggie.
Pickett.
Hey, listen, I remember in the past we used to have, at least in the scholarship line, the matching scholarship fund.
I can't hear you. What's that?
We used to have in the budget a matching
Right.
scholarship fund. Have we had any thoughts about revisiting that concept?
Right. I think I've said every convention since we stopped it.
Okay.
As chair of the budget committee and just as a member of the budget committee, I was kind of opposed to it, because what we ended up doing, we would earmark $50,000 for that benefit. And it was a 50% match, right? And so smaller chapters would have the opportunity to go out and raise scholarships and earmark that, encumber that money. Well, even though we earmarked $50,000, we ultimately only used $17,000 of the $50,000 the last time. And so my philosophy is a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush, right? So instead of earmarking it for something to be encumbered that's not used, less than a third of it used, earmark the money instead for national scholarships. So instead of matching scholarships, we increased national scholarships. Now, the argument was made, well, these smaller chapters, they could use that money for local scholarships. Those same smaller chapters could direct their students to the national scholarship and actually get the money and actually use the money. So if we budgeted for national scholarships, we started out with $25,000 for national scholarships. It got to $100,000. It was $150,000. It got up to $200,000, but because of the budget situation, I think we put it back to $150,000. But those are guaranteed dollars. So that money is sitting there for the scholarship committee to earmark to all students. They could have a policy to reach out, and they show who they give scholarships to. Oftentimes, it's the larger chapters, the larger populations benefit from that, but that committee can decide as a policy, we're going to give it to smaller chapters that could use that more, and that money will guarantee to be spent as opposed to being encumbered and not spent and just carried forward.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
My second question.
Okay.
I was looking online for the actual budget for this current fiscal year. Is it in there? The
actual budget for this current fiscal year? I didn't put that online. I can put it online, but I put this proposed budget online. And if you look at the proposed, no, it just shows the last three columns. So in the future, we'll put, I think I just started putting it online this far in advance, but I do, and we used to email it out, so it's in an email sent last year if you want to go through this current fiscal budget. But this time, in addition to email, we posted the proposed budget. So this year's current budget, before this fiscal year runs, that's only available in the emails that were sent out to the members. You're welcome. Are there any further questions? All right, well, it sounds like we're ready to go to the regional meetings, and I thank you for your time. I look forward to trying proposing this budget tomorrow in the morning to get it passed.